as I pull up to the curb, it's just to me like any other night. I'm not expecting to see anything. In my mind, I'm like, I know that's not what I think it is. So I turned on my high beams. That's when I saw a jet black Dogman standing there.
Welcome to the Cryptid Creatures Podcast. We are live tonight with our special guest, B. Moss.
Hey, B. Moss, welcome to the show.
Hey, Brian and Todd, how are y'all doing?
Great. We are excited you are here.
Yes, for sure.
I'm glad to be here.
Thanks so much for letting us come on and live stream with you and do this interview and podcast together. It means a lot.
I'm excited. I know you had told me that y'all were looking for people with Dogman encounters, and I'm going to end up sending you guys some more, but I'm more than happy. I've done a few interviews, so I'm just excited to be a guest on your show tonight.
Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, we are ready to hear the stories. So,
B, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background before you go into your story? Tell us about your Facebook group page and why you started that and that whole spectrum and that side of things before we get going here.
Okay. I started the Facebook page after I ended up having a Dogman encounter of my own back in 2013. Like I said before, like I always believed that these cryptid existed, but I just never thought I would have my own encounter. So after I had the encounter and continuous listening to different people's encounters on I guess like Facebook, YouTube, being subscribed to several different channels. And after that first encounter that I had, and then multiple sightings thereafter, I just decided to start my own group based on it because I felt like I had a lot of information that I could share based on my experiences and sightings with them.
Right. Gotcha.
Plus, I wanted to create a group also because I know a lot of people who've had encounters with these creatures. A lot of the times, people don't pay attention to small detail when it comes to them. Taking bits and pieces of all the information that you gather from listening to different podcasts, different interviews, episodes and stuff like that. People don't piece the different common denominators together from different shows. And I think that from what I've experienced, I've just started paying attention to things and some things started to add up. And I just wanted to create a place and an atmosphere for people to be able to come, feel comfortable, share their pictures, talk about it, so we can all figure this out together collectively.
Cool.
And there are some really, really interesting pictures on your page too. I've looked at a bunch of them.
Yes. And I'm going to have to share those in your group. And I've shared them in my group already, but I'm going to have to share them in your group as well. So that people can be ready to like kind of see and know what we're talking about as we go along the way. I don't have a picture of the one that I had during my initial encounter, but it's something worth seeing. I think it's pretty decent pictures because when it comes to cryptids, as you know, Dogman, Bigfoot, a lot of the times the pictures that are shared are usually blurry, and some people call them blob squatch, or there's nothing in the pictures, and so you deal with stuff like that a lot.
Yeah.
And the name of your group is Crypto Normal Encounters with B. Moss, correct?
Yes, correct.
For those listening that want to go check out the page and
we'll get that out there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Well, B, why don't you go ahead and just go into your encounters then and tell us about what happened to you and what you experienced.
And we'll interject questions if we have some, if you don't mind.
Okay. All right. Well, during my first encounter, like I said, I've always believed the Dogman and Bigfoot cryptids existed. I've listened to it several years, like different encounters. I was subscribed to Vic Condiv, Brenton Saw, and several different cryptid groups. And so I've always had an open mind to cryptids, and I've always believed that stuff like that existed, but I just never thought that I would see something like that for myself until I did in 2013. back during that time period, I was married, and I would go during hunting season each year because my husband at the time, he would go out and go hunting, and sometimes he'd be gone for 3 or 4 days. And so whenever he was gone, like I just said, okay, well, me and the dog, we're just going to go to my parents' house for the weekend. So during that weekend, this particular weekend when I had this first encounter, like I was telling you guys earlier, when I pull up my parents' house, like they live on a cul-de-sac.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end of the, or I guess like a dead end of the neighborhood. And so their driveway sits in an incline. They had 3 vehicles, so there was nowhere for me to park in their driveway. So I always would park like on the curb, like alongside the road. And as you park alongside the curb, like I'm coming in from the main street and I'm parked, my car's facing the woods, facing the woods. So there's an entrance into the wood line, basically, right ahead in front of my car. So as I pull up to the curb, it's just to me like any other night. I'm not expecting to see anything. I'm not expecting to see a dog man or anything else. It was just really weird and strange. I just had no idea. But
Mm-hmm.
my headlights were on and they were straight like head in the woods. I hadn't cut the car off or anything like that yet. And while I was looking straight ahead, like I'm in my mind, I'm like, I know that's not what I think it is. So I turned on my high beams. When I turned my high beams on, that's when I saw a jet black dog man standing there in front of the entrance to the woods has like trees on the left, trees on the right, and it's like a grassy field that leads like an open path straight back into the woods. So that this one big tree, the dog man was not standing behind it or anything like that. It was directly standing in front of that bush, tree, whatever you want to call it. It was kind of like, it was just really weird. I'll share the pictures in the group so people can know what I'm talking about after this is over with.
Okay.
But it was standing directly in it. So I got a full eye shot, full body shot of the thing. It's, if I had to guess, and I'm not a good judge of height or anything like that, but I know it was way taller than 6 or 7 feet tall. If I had to guess, I would say it was somewhere around 8, 8.5, maybe 9 feet tall.
Wow.
Wow.
It was very, it didn't, I've seen different types of dog man. So during my first dog man encounter, the first one that I saw was not the German, what I like to call the German Shepherd head type. It wasn't the German Shepherd head type. The head was more, I guess, what you would compare to, it was a broad head, like a Rottweiler or a pit bull type head on it.
Really?
The upper, oh yeah, I've seen like the ones that have the husky type face that have like the black and the white or the gray and the white around the muzzle and
Wow.
face. The one I call the black German Shepherd head one with the long snout and the pointy ears. I've got that one. I call that one Anubis also. But the one during the first encounter was more Rottweiler pit bull type head. The body, the upper body was like very muscular bodybuilder. I don't know, like I just, it had like a really broad chest. It had the narrow waist. It did have the dog type legs. It was standing on 2 feet. Now, initially, when the headlights were facing straight ahead towards this particular dog man, this dog man had its back to me. Like it was already, whatever it was doing before I pulled up at the curve, it was like it had its back. I guess it was headed back into the woods, but it didn't, because of that end of the neighborhood. I think it was probably, the creature was so black. I think that it was used to. There's only so many people who live on that end of the neighborhood, so it's probably just used to coming out at that time of night and not expecting anybody to just come drive and have like full headlights on it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I put the high beams on, it wasn't until I turned the high beams on that the thing turned around and looked straight back into my eyes. Like, and a regular dog or a coyote or a regular animal, they might look back at the car, but they're not looking directly in the windshield straight into your eyes. The thing
Right.
stared straight into my eyes. I swear to God, like it looked into my eyes. If you know how like they say it seems like forever,
Yeah.
but it had to have been only like 8 to 10 seconds. It had like these bright, brilliant blue, luminescent eyes, like a very beautiful color, kind of like if you take like maybe a turquoise or really brilliant, beautiful blue, eyes, and then you put like night lights inside of the eyes or like a headlight, something like that, but it was glowing. So the rest of the body, as far as the body is concerned, I remember the upper chest, I remember the arms, I remember it being muscular. The legs had the hawk style legs. I didn't pay attention to the feet, and I didn't pay attention to whether it had a tail or not, because the eyes, um, I don't know, I couldn't take my eyes off of its eyes, because in my mind I kept wondering to myself, like I know it, like I have automatic locks on my car door, but there was times like there was times at times like, you know how when you drive off in your car and automatically the car door is locked when you got automatic locks. There was times when it wouldn't work sometimes. And in my mind, I'm like, please don't let that thing walk over here, because if it does, if it opens that door, if this is one of those times when it's not going to work, this is going to be that time.
Right.
But it just looked back at me.
That'd be
looked
my
in my
luck.
eyes for 8 to 10 seconds. Yeah. Because I had like pulled up in the driveway at my house before, like when I was married, and I pull up in the driveway and I'm thinking the doors are locked. And my ex-husband, like he was my husband at the time, but he came up and just walked straight up to the car and opened the door. I'm like, how did you open the door? It's supposed to be locked. But so the thing looked back, and then after so many minutes, no, so many seconds, 8 to 10 seconds, I guess once it got its feel and said, oh, it looked at me like, oh, it's just you. No big deal. It was on 2 feet. It never was on fours when I seen it. It didn't go on fours. Once it made eye contact with me, what it did was turned its back to me. And in my mind, I got the vibe like, oh, it's just you. No big deal. It turned and walked straight ahead and into the woods casually. Didn't run, didn't jog, casually, like, oh, okay, whatever. And usually the normal thing that I would usually do, I would pack a bag. Like I already told y'all earlier, I'm extra. Like if I'm packing for 2 or 3 days to stay at my parents' house, you're going to think I'm staying there for a week. I got 3, 4 pair of shoes. The suitcase is super heavy. I had used to have my dad to come out there. Daddy, can you come out here and get this suitcase? Because it's heavy and I'm not even, why you pack all this stuff for all these days? You ain't staying here for 2 days. It don't matter. I got to be prepared for everything.
That's right.
But so in any other night, thank God, like God was on my side that night, because any other night I wouldn't have thought nothing about Dogman. I would have just got out of the car, took forever getting it out because the suitcase is heavy, and rolled it up the hill, up the incline driveway. I wouldn't have thought nothing about it, and I take my time. But I'm glad that I didn't cut the car off, because I wouldn't have seen it and I wouldn't have thought anything about it. So instead of, once I seen that, I wasn't about to get out of the car. I called inside the house and I said, Daddy, unlock the door. I said, come out here to the car. Daddy was like, I ain't coming out. Daddy, please come out here. I said, you're not going to, my parents, they don't believe it. They're like, are you crazy? They seriously asked me, like, are you crazy? They didn't.
And this is right outside their house?
Yes.
They've never seen one?
No, they never seen it. They didn't believe it. And that picture I showed you, the one I call the black German Shepherd head dog, man, they rationalized that as, well, you know what? At first they was like, oh. And then they rationalized it. And they said, well, you know what? Maybe that was one coyote and then another coyote stood on top of his back. And that's why I was higher up in the tree. Like, really?
They don't want to. They're probably like me, where they don't want to accept the fact that these things are real. That's way too scary, because
they're old school, man. They're not. Yeah,
we're talking about Dogman. We're talking about werewolves here, right? So we're talking about werewolves.
Probably.
And see, the thing about it is like that after that, I stopped. I mean, I would tell them about it. And then like that night, like I said, Dad, he didn't come out there. He was like, you better get your ass in here. Like, ain't nobody playing with you. Ain't nothing out there. Daddy, yes, it is. Tina, you really telling me you believe in a werewolf? Seriously. So, Daddy, I'm like, I got tears rolling down my face.
Did you say that the head was more like a? Did you say the head was more like a Rottweiler or a pit bull, not a German Shepherd? Is that what you said?
Yes, and you know what? I don't think I even sent you what I call the Holy Grail Dogman picture. The one I call the Holy Grail Dogman picture, to me, out of all German Shepherd Dogman picture is great. Holy Grail Dogman picture, there's 2 major Dogman in that picture that stand out and like the greatest to me from what I've seen, other than maybe a couple other people whose videos and pictures I've seen, the greatest Dogman pictures of all time. That's why I call it the Holy Grail. I don't think I sent y'all that one.
Did
I'm gonna
his
send it to you.
Well, I think I want to see that.
Did his ears were his
Oh yeah,
ears
you gotta
standing
see
up?
this one.
Did the ears stand up pretty high, or were they smaller, like a pit bull or a Rottweiler would have? I guess.
I don't think they were standing up. I think I would have noticed that because on the German Shepherd head dog man, the one I call Anubis, that one, its ears are standing straight up.
Mm-hmm.
And I seen that particular one more than once, but the German Shepherd head one was not the one that I seen on that first encounter.
What do you think this
One
guy was
that I called
doing?
Holy Grail.
What was this guy
I think
doing
that
when you pulled up
that
and hit
dog
him
man.
with your eye with your headlights? Yeah, what was he?
I think that I'm not sure, but I know that it seemed like he wasn't expecting, like as you pull off the main road and pull into the neighborhood, you're going to pull straight and keep going straight ahead. So most people, when they come into the neighborhood, they're going to turn and go all the way out through the other end of the neighborhood where all the houses are. So
Mhm.
it wasn't expecting that. There's at that point in time, I think it probably even knows people's schedule. That sounds stupid, but
No,
it probably
probably.
knows that what time people are in the house on that end of the street and nobody's coming
Mhm.
in or out at that time. I think that I caught it off guard
Mm-hmm.
because majority of the time you're not going to get a full body shot like that.
Yeah,
I
you were
think
not
I caught
supposed
it
to
off
be there.
guard.
Yeah.
Exactly. But when it seen me, it wasn't like, oh crap. It was like, let me see. Oh, it's just you. My parents lived in that house for about 30 years. So all those years, like back before 2013, I'd never seen Dogman before. I mean, I didn't hear about them. I knew about them in 2013, but all my years growing up, I never heard of that. So I think that maybe they always existed there because to me, to that particular one, I wasn't a big deal. It's like, okay, whatever. And it
So do
didn't.
you
It
think that
acted
it
like,
seemed like he recognized you? Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I honestly, to be honest with you right now, I think that the one I'm calling the Holy Grail Dog Man, I might be wrong about this, but I think based on the head of the Holy Grail Dog Man, I believe that this might have been it. There's no,
Wow.
if you, once you see the picture of this one, once you see the head, it's like, and I actually seen it in real time. Now, this is a whole nother, I've had several sightings after the first initial sighting. So I'm going to get to
Okay.
that Holy Grail one in a minute, but I think that the one that's on the Holy Grail Dogman picture, I think that that may be it because it had that same Rottweiler type head. I
Did it
think that
have
what it was
did
doing
it
is
have a
heading
lot of
into the woods, and I just thought,
did it have a lot of hair on the body? B Moss. I don't remember if you talked about that or what color its hair was on the body. Or I apologize if you didn't. If you did.
it was the body was jet black. It was blacker than the darkness. It was in the fall. This is in November, so you know how in November and the fall and winter, you know how it gets dark early. It was
A
only
little
like eight
darker, yeah.
o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
About
Okay.
8 o'clock. But this thing was so black, it was blacker than the blackness. So, but as far as the hair, it didn't have. I've heard people talk about what do you call it? Like the lion's mane that they see like behind the
Mm-hmm.
shoulder and neck area.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have that. It had more tapered fur to its body. You had asked me what did I think it was doing. I think that it was already on its way back further back into the woods, like where I was pointing my headlights at. That's just the entrance into the woods. I think it was
Mm-hmm.
already headed back there. I don't know where it came from or what it was doing, but for some reason it came up front
Hmm.
for whatever reason, and I don't know what it was doing, but it was out in the open.
Had you ever heard any noises or howls or anything like that before? Seeing this or
Not at that
growing up at that in that location?
not at that point. Not at that point, and until 2013, I never paid attention to what was going on back in the woods. I never paid attention, thought anything about it. I could be outside, smoking a cigarette, chilling, whatever, sitting in the car, talking on the phone, whatever, and it was never a big deal. Now, when after that first sighting, um, I started taking pictures. I started recording video. I would be over there every weekend like I always would during hunting season. And so when I would be out there, that's when I started noticing that every single time that I was outside smoking, they would always be there. They would always be watching and not from a distance. Like if I'm my parents, like, you come outside of their screen door. They've moved from that house since then. But if you come outside of their screen door, they used to have like this big, I called it a toy box because they just had, it was a big chest that sat outside the front door, and they had a bunch of toys. It was just a big heavy plastic or rubber box, and I would sit on that and sit and smoke and look out towards the woods and just enjoy nature. But they had one of those chain link fences, so every now and then I would take my little Yorkie outside, let her run around, play, have a good time in the backyard. So you got the front of the fence where the big chest is that I was just talking to y'all about, where I would sit.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I go into the fence, then I'm letting the dog run around the backyard. But then at the back of the fence, if you were to, like, I guess, to climb over the back of the fence or walk around the yard and go, you're right there at the tree line that's like the forefront of the trees that lead into the woods. They would come up that close. So basically, if I'm in the backyard, all they got to do is just basically walk, I don't know, 30, 40 feet and be right there, or 30, 40, about 30, 40 feet and be right there in the backyard with me if they wanted to. So the German Shepherd had one. That one was actually watching me, and it actually stood out there and watched me for 30, 45 minutes. I actually captured movement. I've taken before and after pictures of that one. I've caught it looking straight ahead where you could see that its snout was really broad. And then if you're not, you have to constantly be watching these creatures or taking multiple snapshots back to back to capture movement, because their movements are so subtle that if you don't take a bunch of snapshots, then you're not going to catch it. So I've got like one where it's straight ahead, and then I have one where it's tilted its head at an angle like that looking at me. And I've got the video. I think I sent you the video. And did you see it on there?
Yeah, I did see it. Yeah.
It was watching. Now, that particular one, I've seen that one on more than one occasion. I've seen that one on more than one occasion.
Why don't you tell us about that?
Now, that one, they never approached me, even when I was in the backyard at times, letting my dog run around and play. They never stepped out from behind the trees. They would come out in broad daylight. But they're always making sure that they stay behind the trees. It's almost like, and I always was recording, and you hear people say all the time, Dogman and Bigfoot do not like to be recorded. They take that as an offense. And you hear people also say stuff like, well, you have to ask them permission to record. I never asked them for permission to record. I just made sure that, usually I made sure that I wasn't recording or taking pictures when I was in the backyard. I felt more comfortable doing it up there by that toy box right next to the screen door, just in case they decided to get bold and come out from behind them trees. I could just run right in the house.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they would catch me off guard because I ain't thinking nothing about them. And originally when I'm going out there, they're just not out there just yet. But then I get out in the backyard and I'm letting Chloe run around. And then all of a sudden I'm like, let me just look over there. And I look over and they're standing right there watching. Now, so that's the black German Shepherd head Dogman. The black German Shepherd head Dogman. I don't know if I sent you the shot that also where I've circled. It had like, there was 3 or 4 pups on that photo also. A couple of juveniles, and then there was a couple of smaller pups. On the German Shepherd head Dogman, there's actually, somebody had pointed out to me that there was a pup on top of its head. And I had always seen that, but I wasn't sure what it was because it was kind of distorted. But the German Shepherd head Dogman was not. I'm just going to call him Anubis for this.
And this is the same location where your parents live still? That you have this?
Yes.
Okay. And they've never admitted to seeing anything out there or hearing anything, or maybe they don't want to tell you?
One time, last year, my dad was like, and they lived there all these years, like 30 years. Once, I think maybe last year, year before last, my dad, whenever they would come outside, and of course I'm out there recording, but they think it's ridiculous. Daddy would be like, what you doing? You out here recording Bigfoot? And they would bust out laughing. And they would thought it was hilarious. And even like every year for like the family get-togethers, Thanksgiving and stuff like that, my mom, like when my grandma passed away, my mom's place for Thanksgiving, my mother was like the next best cook after grandma, so that was the place to come for Thanksgiving. So it was 20, 30 people coming over there. Mom and Daddy had already made this like the big laughing stock, the joke. So everybody pulls up. I'm out there recording. You out here taking pictures of Dogman and Bigfoot? And they laughing and having a good old time. I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, No, I had to say that I didn't believe in it because I'm bird watching. I mean, I was embarrassed. I didn't even want to admit to it because they just wouldn't let it go.
Right. Yeah.
But no, my dad, only thing he ever said was that he told me one time, he said, well, one day I was out there behind the fence cutting grass. He said, and I seen two coyotes running back there in the field. Well, to my parents, all the years that I ever lived at that house, I'm not saying coyotes and foxes aren't around there, but I've never seen a coyote ever. So in my mind, to my dad, let's just say this is probably like the largest coyote ever. He wouldn't have even paid attention to it. He would have just thought there's two coyotes. But what if it was two juvenile dog men? Because I know for a fact that they're back there.
Right.
Possible.
So that particular dog man that I'm telling you about right now, though that's just their excuses for it. And I asked him, I said, in all the years that you've been here, other than you just telling me that here recently, I guess at that point in time, it was that same year that he had seen two coyotes back there. I said, other than that, all these years that you've lived at this house, have you ever seen coyotes back there before? He was like, well, no. So, no. But then at the same time, you hear people say that Dogman and coyotes run together. Coyotes follow behind Dogman. So it's just something else to it. So that's just that particular occasion. Now I have you asked me a few minutes ago. I'll get to the Holy Grail Dogman in a few minutes.
Yeah, I wanted to know about
But
that. Why you called him the Holy Grail Dogman and all that stuff too. But do you mind sharing what state this happens in? B or
this is North Alabama.
North Alabama. Okay. And is there any heavily wooded preservation areas close to where your parents live, by chance?
National Forest.
National Forest.
You got Wheeler Wildlife Refuge. I don't know if y'all are if y'all have heard of Wheeler Wildlife Refuge. I don't know if y'all listened to the episode that on Dogman Cams where John Bell had the panel. It was called The Credibility of Victor.
Okay.
From Jeff Nadoni's channel. And one of the guys there that was on his panel, I think his name was TJ Neely. TJ Neely mentioned the fact that he lived in Northeast Alabama and he lived close to Wheeler Wildlife Refuge. And in that interview, he said that 3 dogmen were killed in November of 2020. And he said that Russian helicopters came in and flew those 3 bodies of those dogmen back to Redstone Arsenal military base. Where I live at right now, like when I pull out of my apartment complex and pull out of the neighborhood, bam, Redstone Arsenal military base.
Did you say Russian?
I don't know why, but yeah, listen to when y'all get a chance, listen to the Credibility of Victor
I'm gonna listen
live
to that
stream panel. They spoke of Wheeler Wildlife Refuge. 3 dogmen were killed there last year because they were talking about Victor from Jeff Nadoni's channel.
All right.
And Victor is somebody who people quote a lot of the times because Victor's come out with a lot of information supposedly about Dogman, and a lot of people believe it. Some people don't. Some people think it's incredible. I just really don't. I mean, I believe a lot of the stuff he says, but I thought a lot of stuff he said was interesting. But according to TJ Neely, it was confirmed that 3 were killed there. The smallest one was like 6.5 feet tall. And the third one, the tallest one, was like 8.5 to 9 feet tall. They were flown back to Redstone Arsenal military base. So you got Wheeler Wildlife Refuge. You got Huntsville or Limestone County or Madison County is heavily wooded anyway. Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, all of the southeastern states are heavily wooded.
So you probably have a lot of caves there too.
Absolutely. You got Montesano Mountain. You got, I mean, it's a bunch of mountains here. Chapman Mountain.
Right.
It's a lot of stuff. You got a bunch of rivers here. They got the Elk River, Tennessee River. It's a lot of that over here. There's plenty of wildlife, plenty of deer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, plenty of tree cover. Just like in the apartment complex I live in now, you can tell like they built an apartment complex in the woods, and you can just tell that they built it around like a bunch of trees. They're still like right now where I live at, they're still clearing out land to like make more, businesses and stuff like that. So it's predominantly wooded area. Okay. So that being said, these areas like this, even Mississippi and Louisiana, hot spots for Dogman. There's plenty of places for them to hide. There's plenty of places for them to hide, plenty of places, caves, bunch of trees, and a lot of people don't even think about the fact that when you don't see Dogman, because you have people saying sometimes, well, I've been hunting all my life. I'm a outdoorsman. If you would think if I've been out there all these years, why haven't I seen a Dogman yet?
Right,
And
exactly.
because you're looking on the ground, you're hunting for deer, you're hunting for whatever you're out there hunting, but you're not looking up in the trees. They're in the trees all the time.
In the
They're in the
trees.
trees, behind the trees. A lot of times you'll capture them peeking out from behind the trees, trying to look at you, or you'll capture them tilting their head, or sometimes they blend in or camouflage themselves so well with the foliage that it's hard to differentiate the two. Sometimes you might see just the head and the shoulders, and then where you should. And this is the weird paranormal aspect of it, where you should. Let's just say you got a branch or something like that, but no leaves underneath it. You're like, where the hell is the rest of the body? Because you got different theories on Dogman: flesh and blood, paranormal, supernatural, interdimensional. What are
Mm-hmm.
they? Government created, hybrid, chimeras. Are they ancient? Have they always been here?
That's
Right.
And it's
those
hard
are the
to say.
questions I was going to ask you here eventually. Do you think there's a hybrid version of? Or let me ask you this first: Do you have any Bigfoot encounters in that area, or has there been any?
Bigfoot. I do know that there are people who have seen them here. I do know that Bigfoot does exist. I do know that Alabama's a hot spot for them. I've talked to a few people. I have not ever personally seen them, and if I have, I don't know it. But I've heard people often talk about the fact that Dogman and Bigfoot will be right next to each other sometimes. And there's been things that I've
Yeah, I've
captured
heard
in
that.
pictures that I'm like, that's not a Dogman. That has more of a humanoid face. But then because I haven't seen one out in the open like I did the Dogman, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to say for sure, but I know that there's other things I've captured there.
Mm.
Um, but I do know that Alabama is a hot spot. Now, I know one thing that we have here, but I've never seen it, but they call it the Alabama white thing. I don't know what that is. Some people say it's an albino Bigfoot. It's so many areas to touch on that, but I just, on my theory on what Dogman is, I think that there's more than one type. I don't think like, people say that there's six types of Dogman. I don't think six or seven. I don't think that. I think that Dogman I don't think that we know all there is to know about them. And I also feel like there's different breeds, like how you got different races of people, different breeds of dogs. I feel like there's different breeds, different eye colors, different types, just as it is with people and just like it is with any other animal. Um, but I do feel that as far as like what are they, I do feel like there are some that are flesh and blood, and at the same time, I believe that there's some that are flesh and blood and supernatural or paranormal at the same time. Nephilim, if you will.
Mm.
Okay.
Because some of the DNA, when I talked to Melba Ketchum, one of the things that she mentioned was that she had done DNA studies on Bigfoot and Dogman. And in the DNA research that she's done, she got half human, half animal. No, not half. Part human, part animal, and part unknown. And I said, do you think that they're Nephilim? And she said, absolutely. And she went into more explanation on that, and I was just really shocked and surprised that she answered. But she has her own DNA lab, and she was telling me this on Messenger that yeah, they are. She said they are Nephilim. Now,
She's saying that dogmen are
when I
Nephilim.
say
Is that what she's saying?
yeah,
Or
she
Bigfoot?
said that I guess both of the creatures because she's got DNA on both. She said she's in the process right now of still waiting for some results to come back from. I'd have to go back to the messages, but she's waiting for the. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
But she's
Okay.
waiting for the results to come back from one of these creatures. But she said that she does have DNA samples of it, part
Wow.
human, part animal, part unknown. So to me, like you got the paranormal aspect of them, flesh and blood. So the flesh and blood aspect, when it deals with dog man, you have people that have gone hunting, people who have shot them, who have drawn blood, where there's blood left over after the fact, and that there's even a few cases, probably more than we know, There's even cases where people have actually supposedly buried the body, or the government came in and took the body and took it back to some unknown location. There's several different stories out there like that. Or when people came in, they was like, you saw a bear. They know that this stuff is out there. There is supernatural, there is flesh and blood ones, but at the same time, those flesh and blood ones also have a paranormal supernatural aspect to them as well, because they have and I know that we have creatures like cheetahs and stuff like that can run like 65, 70 miles per hour. But there's other things too about Dogman and Bigfoot that do not go along with the natural characteristics of any known animals that we have. Which one example of that would be the mind speak. People talking about, when I picked up my phone to take a picture of it, it knew what the phone was. Or when they picked up the gun to get ready to shoot it, it's like the thought came in their head, you better put that gun down now, or I want you to leave. You got that aspect of it. So there's different things that make you know, okay, well, this is not natural. Regular animals don't put thoughts in your head like that. Or when you got people that's fearful, and then all of a sudden they feel calm, all of a sudden they say, well, it made me feel like, calm down, I'm not going to hurt you. You got situations on the paranormal side of it where people say, you could, like I was just mentioning to you a few minutes ago, where you can see part of the body but not the rest of the body. What is that? Now, Melba Ketchum said that she said that there was some part were interdimensional. She said there, let me read it to you, because I don't, let me just go to that real quick, because I don't
All
know.
right.
And I was actually shocked that I had actually got a response back from her about that.
While you're looking at that, the creature that you saw, do you think that one was completely flesh and blood? Do you think it lived on this world, on this earth, day to day?
Yeah, because it had pups with it. So there's some kind of breeding going on. Yeah. There was pups with it. And to be honest with you, I've actually, now they, they, for the one I seen, the German Shepherd Dogman, I think that was a female. She had pups with it, small ones, and I guess ones that would be juvenile sized. I have pictures of that, and I think I might have sent you that too. But yeah, I think that they're flesh and blood because apparently they breed. But I do also at the same time believe that they're also ancient, and I believe that they've been here for thousands of years.
You had talked about
like all this.
You had talked about your first encounter being a different type of species-looking dog, and we had talked earlier on the phone about the video of the big black wolf creature. Why don't you talk about that for a second? And I kind of wanted to theorize something about that too, about our dogs going out in the wild and just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But anyway, tell us about that video that we talked about earlier, if you don't mind.
Are you talking about the one of that same picture of the German Shepherd head dog man?
Well, it was the big black dog laying in the. Do you remember you said?
Yes. There was a video that came out a few years ago, and I believe probably a lot of people have actually seen it. I think, would you type in, if y'all want to see that video, it was on YouTube, and some people said it was a timber wolf, and it was called Massive Wolf. Just type in Massive Wolf chases dog or something like that. When you look that up, it was like this humongous giant black dog. Massive. To me, looking at the video, it looked like it was about the size of a horse.
It's like how
and
big?
The dog was
right.
Yes.
The guy's little dog runs up. His dog's not little. His dog's probably a 70, 80 pound dog.
His dog to me looked like it was a Great Dane or something like that. It was a big dog.
But this,
when you look at that, and then that big black wolf jumped out of that body was long as a car.
It's massive.
I mean, I'm serious. It was huge. Mm-hmm. Like if the thing stood up if it stood up on hind legs, that wolf was so humongous, so big, so tall, so long that if it stood up next to a tree, I swear that thing would have been probably about 9 feet tall.
We got to find the link for that and put it on our group pages for sure.
Yeah, find that.
So our fans can watch that. Yeah.
And some people were like, "Well, there was a dire wolf." Okay, so you're gonna make an excuse and say it was, we can't. Okay, we've been told several things don't exist anymore that actually still do, or maybe there's a few of them that people just haven't seen. But some people were saying it was a dire wolf. You had other people saying it was a timber wolf, and I don't know. I've seen some huge timber wolves on some videos and some pictures that I've Googled, but that thing defied anything that I've ever seen when you call looking at a wolf.
It was twice
Absolutely
as
not.
big as a wolf as I know it. Probably twice as big as a wolf.
It's like a doggone horse.
Brian, are you looking it up right now? He looks like he's
I'm
looking
looking
Oh
for
for
my
it.
it.
So
God.
maybe he'll find it. But while he's doing that, what's your theory on this Dogman thing? Like you said, is it paranormal? Is it flesh and blood? Is it both? Are animals going out into the wilderness and just, you know, getting bigger on their own, escaping from,
I
humanity?
don't
What's going
I
on
don't
here? Is
think
this
that.
government?
I think there's several things going on. For one, I know that we've been told for years that and this is just one of my theories, and I might be wrong on this, but we've always been told that Anubis was just a man with a mask. But what if it wasn't? What if it was the dog-headed man they were um you know illustrating it as that, but it was the type that had the human type body and legs.
Why
If
would
that's
they?
the
Yeah,
case,
why
because
would
they
Egyptians put that in their hieroglyphs?
exactly because they also had the ones that had the crocodile head, the bird head. But what if those were because they worshiped them as gods
Hmm.
for one, and those were chimeras. But then in Greek mythology, you have what is it, the goat man or what satyr, the satyr, which today we would call a goat man. But I think in that time
Hmm.
period, I think it was like the man's upper body and the goat's legs. But it could be probably a mixture of both. But I also think with our government, we also have programs out there where they're mixing DNA. I shared something in my group a week or two ago where the government has now passed a legislation. I can't remember now, and I have to go back and find that again, but they passed a legislation about human animal hybrids. Like, why even pass a legislation about that if y'all are not creating that? It's like almost like you just put that out there. That's almost somewhat like disclosure.
Hmm.
They know about these things. They're creating some of them. They are capturing some of them. I believe they have some of them in underground, deep underground military bases. I believe they have some of their DNA in labs. And I do believe that they do what gene splicing. I think a lot of these Hollywood movies and stuff that we watch are basically telling you a lot of the times this is what we're doing, hidden in plain sight.
Right.
Because if you think about it, this stuff is not brand new. People been seeing these things for thousands of years.
Right.
That stuff is real. People
Oh
are
yeah.
actually seeing that. They were saying when Christopher Columbus and some of the other explorers that came over here, they encountered these things.
My whole
And then if you
story
look
is
at that,
my whole story is when I was a kid, I was scared to death by the Howling, the werewolf movies, and I thought, no way, if
right,
those things were ever real, I'm never going outside. And now I'm finding out that these things
right,
I think are real, and I hope
Yeah.
they're not.
absolutely,
I hope they're not dangerous, but yeah, I just don't understand this. And this phenomena is coming up bigger than Bigfoot right now. It's just Dogman is becoming so big. Michigan is a huge population for encounters and
yes,
sightings, and I don't know why Michigan or Wisconsin. These things might be concentrating down from Upper Peninsula Canada. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what theory to start with, in my opinion, but
Right.
no, absolutely. Somebody, okay, I guess that video we were just talking about. Somebody, David from Texas, just said he shared that video in the group, and I think he's talking about the one with that dog man.
the bit
Well, we don't know if it's a dog man or not, but that huge, gigantic wolf
well,
Oh,
we were
but
just talking
it's
about.
huge. I found it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Did
that
you
thing
see
is
it, Brian?
massive. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that? What's your opinion on that, Brian?
I don't know, man. That thing is.
That's bigger than a regular wolf, is it not?
Yeah, that is a lot bigger than a regular wolf.
Now, just imagine
And
if it
that
just
man's seen it
walked
in
on
real
its hind
time.
legs.
So, just
Yeah.
real quick, like what I was gonna say to you, I had asked Melba Ketchum about the dog man, what they are, and I
Hmm.
shared the pictures with her, and she said she had told me. I had told her thanks for accepting my friend request. She said thanks so much for the kind words. Are your pictures clear? Have you posted them anywhere? I have two dogman samples. One is completed, the other is partially finished. And I told her the pictures were clear. And then she said, nice photos. She said, one sample was hair and one saliva. I said, what do you think Dogman is? She said, a human hybrid. I said, why do you believe that? Is it based on your research? I'm not doubting what you say. I'm just trying to figure them out. How were they created, do you think? And do you feel like they always existed? I believe that they're Nephilim. She said, it's based on their DNA. Yes, they are Nephilim. She said, you're very welcome as far as a friend request. So she goes on. Um, Then I said, are they supernatural creatures and how are they able to cloak and disappear? I've seen it happen. I'm just trying to make sense of it, but I do understand that you're busy and I appreciate your time. So she answered my question about them being supernatural. She said, yes, they are supernatural. There are two ways they cloak. One is by jumping dimensions, and the other is by changing their vibration or energy field. Okay, so I asked a bunch more questions.
Hmm.
And then she said, there are many dimensions outside our own. You could consider heaven another dimension. All matter is made up of atoms, physics, and they vibrate or move constantly. By changing the speed of this movement, you can leave this dimension. The energy field is different. It basically reflects or bends light so you can't see an object. Because I was asking her, how is it that sometimes you can see part of the body and not the other part of the body? Sometimes you can see the
Right.
head, but you're like, where's the rest of it? Because I've seen that and I've actually watched it on video. And I'm so upset with myself because one of the greatest videos that I had of one manifesting, and when I say manifesting, I mean going from nothingness to appearing before you in real time. It was like a 13-minute
Right.
video, and one day I was going through my phone, like removing crap out of the phone, and I'm like, "Oh my god, what did I just do?" Like I actually captured something that was going to show everybody everything they ever wanted to see when it came to the supernatural aspect of Dog Man. It was blinking and everything, and it was manifesting before your very eyes.
I'm still
I'm
thinking
still
about
sick
what you
about
were
it
just
to this
reading.
day.
I'm still trying to grasp a hold of that for a second.
I'll send that to you. Yeah, she
Yeah.
said there are many dimensions outside our own.
Yeah, I
You can
want to.
consider
Yeah.
heaven another dimension.
Okay.
And she said, by changing
I
the speed of this movement, you can leave this dimension.
I will accept that 100%. I just want to know why they would come in the form of a werewolf or a
Well,
I mean, and if they have, like you said, pups, they're here, I don't know. This is craziness.
I'm
I
gonna
can't grasp it.
I'm gonna tell you something right
But I've
now, a
heard
whole
this
nother
before. I've
story.
heard this before, B Moss. I've heard this before with Bigfoot. So I just, you know,
Well, I have a whole nother story about a pup as well. When I captured it in real time. And that first of all, when I seen this one particular pup, and I'm gonna say it was a Dogman pup because it was reddish brown in color, and that
Mm.
the color has nothing to do with it. But have y'all ever heard when people talk about how the dog man, sometimes when they're on all fours, it's like an awkward movement to their run or their gait, like almost like jerky movements. It was almost weird to the point to when this thing was running, and it was a pup. When I said pup, it was the size of a small fox. And at first I was like, small or medium fox. So at first I thought that it was a fox because right directly behind my parents' chain link fence, there's a field, an open, like, and it used to be a cotton field. And sometimes they grow other crops back there too, but it was running through that field. It was in the fall, so the grass was low. So this particular reddish brown colored dog man pup, I can say that now because what it did once it got to the back of the wood line. So it's running, hopping, running, or like a weird jerky type movement, almost like how rabbits sometimes do that weird thing when they kind of contort their body and jump up in the air, and it's just really weird jerky movements. So it's running, and I'm watching it run from the middle of the field all the way back to the tree line at the very back of the field. And when it gets back there, I'm watching intently because I'm like, okay, is that a dogman pup or is that a regular fox? But I already knew dogmen were out there, so I'm like, I'm just gonna make sure I keep my eyes on it. When it got back there to that one tree in the back, it's several trees, but I watched it the whole time. When it got back there, it climbed the tree. Foxes don't climb trees.
No.
no, they don't.
So it was not the size of what I would say would be a adult dog man, but it was about the size. It was about the size of a red fox. So I'm gonna say that was a dog man pup. Then it climbed the tree. It didn't climb the tree like it climbed the tree the way that, you know how you see a cat climb a tree, like it's taking its like front and back claws and kind of going up at the, all at one time.
Mm-hmm.
It went up the tree like that and then
Wow.
disappeared.
Hmm.
So I
Crazy.
watched that. Now, you asked me earlier, had I ever heard any sounds? Growing up, no, I didn't hear any sounds back there. And if I did, I never would have thought anything about it. But one of these days I was out there, it was about 6 o'clock in the fall, 7 o'clock, getting ready to be dark outside. And I'm sitting out there on that toy box like I did often, smoking, looking out towards the woods, recording and taking pictures. And all of a sudden I heard, I can't even emulate it. I'm not even going to try. But if y'all have ever heard a hyena, that noise that they do where it sounds like they're laughing.
Yeah.
Just listen to hyena noises. It sounded like that. And I'm like, ain't no hyenas back there in Alabama in the woods. It
No.
was crazy. Like it just did that whole hyena cackle. I'm like, oh, hell no. It's time to get out of here now. I went back in the house. I'm like, I'm not going to
Mhm.
sit out here another minute because I ain't never heard that before. That was crazy. And I knew it. I mean, I know what coyote yipping sounds like. It didn't sound like that. And I've often heard people talk about, and some of the people who research this stuff have actually talked about the fact that they will do that hyena noise sometimes.
Yeah, they've got to make
Hmm.
So
some kind of noise or some kind of growl or something like that. Do you ever go
now I
back to
know
your
y'all only
parents
go for
these
about,
days, or
they no longer live in that house anymore. They moved out of that neighborhood, not because of anything related to that, but they moved out and moved to another neighborhood because they've lived in that house so long that they wanted to move out and just move somewhere else because
Mhm.
that's where they had always lived.
Hmm.
But I do have permission to go back over there because the people who live in their old house now, my parents have known them for years, so they've given me permission. Like I wasn't gonna tell them I'm out there looking at Dogman. I said I
Right.
love the bird watch, and I'm still attached to this house, and my little dog, she likes to run around in the backyard, and oh, come over here anytime. I'm like, I sure will. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go back in those woods unless at least 4, 5, 6 people are going with me because I would like to go back
We'll
there.
go.
I would like to see those views. Really?
Yeah,
Heck
Are
yeah.
you serious?
take a little
Absolutely.
trip
Because I want to
someday.
go back there. Like if I want to, I know I'm confident enough about these dog men. I know for a fact, like if I were to go over there tomorrow, I could capture them on camera. They always
Really?
come out for me. I don't
Yeah.
know. They just like to come
Do
out.
you ever
There
find
was
any
never a time that they
tracks?
weren't out there.
Do you ever find any tracks, or have you found
When
any
I
tracks?
first, well, I did see what I thought was some tracks. The one time that I went back there when I took my two nephews and one of the nephews' girlfriends back there with me. But at that time, I wasn't so much concentrating on that because it was after my first encounter, and all I wanted to do was go back there and take pictures and video because I already knew about the
Hmm.
paranormal aspect of it. And I knew sometimes you can capture them on camera when you don't see them with your own eyes. So yeah, I did see a few tracks at times, but it was like kind of questionable, and you don't want to make it like, okay, well, you just can't make everything be tracks just because you've seen a dog man now.
Hmm.
So I can't say
Right.
for sure, but I did see things that I thought were strange. Um, now I mean, I may end up having to come back for another episode with y'all because that's
Absolutely.
not all that has happened.
Sure.
Like I haven't even gotten into it with you with as far as my nephew's encounter.
Okay.
He's seen one too at that same
Yes.
house, getting off from McDonald's one night. I'll just go into that real fast.
All right. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Getting off
Go
from
ahead.
McDonald's one night. He's getting off from McDonald's one night, and I ain't even told y'all about the Holy Grail one, so we can do a part two if y'all want to.
Yeah, we certainly
But
will.
he got off
Yeah.
from McDonald's one night, and this is during one of those weekends, like I said, that I was down there at their house visiting on the weekend during hunting season. So, um, it's 12 o'clock. He's 16 years old, getting off from McDonald's, and I'm in there, my parents' house, and he knew I'd be up pretty late, so you know how teenagers are. They pull up next to the curb and park. They don't come right in. He's out there texting his girlfriend on the phone. It's dark and the phone screen is lit up, and he's just looking, texting and stuff like that. And then at 12 o'clock or a few minutes after 12, he calls inside, and he was halfway crying, like, "Come out here!" And I was like, "What's wrong, Keyshawn? What is it?" He said, "Come out here real quick." He said, "One of those things is out here." He said, I said, "What? What are you talking about?" I already knew that they were out there, but I wanted just confirmation. I said, "What?" He said, "It's a dog man out here." I said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Stop lying, Keyshawn," because I'd already told him about him. He said, "I'm so serious right now. Please come out here. I'm not fixing to get out of the car." I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "What is it doing?" He said, "It's just looking straight at me." I said, well, how do you know for sure it's a dog? I shouldn't have been having that whole conversation. I should have just been already up on my way to the front of the house to let him in. How do
Right.
you know it's a dog, man? And he said, because I'm looking at it right now. He said it's standing up on 2 feet. But he said originally when he first seen it, it was on all fours. And he thought his eyes was playing tricks on him. So he put his high beams on it. When he put his high beams on it, it stood up and turned around to look at him.
Huh.
And he told me it was jet black. I said, "What color are the eyes?" And he didn't say it had the shining eye color. I don't know if he said the eyes were black, but if they're black, it was dark out there. I,
Yeah, he was probably
Either
just
way, he didn't see
freaked
the
out.
eyes. But
Yeah.
he did say that it did have the pointy ears on top of his head. And then he said, I said, well, what did it do after you put the high beams on? He said it stood up and then it turned around and looked at me for a few minutes. He said, and then it took off running to the woods. He said that this one had a tail on it. He said it was standing up on 2 feet. And I said, was it real tall? He said, yeah. But I didn't ask him about the height or anything. But I actually, at that point in time, like hunting, it was still hunting season, but my husband at the time was hunting in that area where my parents lived at. So he's actually there that night. And I was glad because I didn't want to have to go out there.
Right.
I said, can you just go out there because I'm not going up? Please, can you go out there and get Keyshawn? And my husband was fussing at me. This is your fault because you didn't put all this stuff in his head. And ain't no such thing as dog, man. You're not fixing to get me all stressed out about it where I don't want to go out there hunting in the woods and everything. He just will not even hear it. But he went out there to get Keyshawn. Keyshawn came in the house. He was crying. He's 16 years old, a teenage boy.
Wow. Yeah.
Crying. And he said that after it looked at him for a few minutes, it just turned and casually walked back into the woods, just like the one I saw. But
Did the one
you saw look more like the German Shepherd head type.
Did the one you saw have a tail on it?
Snout.
Did the one you saw
I don't
have a
remember
tail?
that. I don't remember because I was so focused on its head, upper body, and its eyes most of all. I was so entranced in that I do remember what his body was like, but I don't remember seeing a tail.
Mhm.
I didn't pay attention to that. I was just, and I can't even tell you.
Well, you probably
anything
couldn't
about the
see it
tail.
anyway. You said it was pretty dark. The body was
It
pretty
was
dark. So you
pretty
probably wouldn't have
dark.
seen it
High
anyway.
beams. What, the tail?
Yeah.
Oh, my nephew said the one he seen had a tail.
Yeah,
And
no, the one you saw.
Part about this,
Yeah.
well, the scary part about it was later. When I seen mine, it was at 8 o'clock at
Right.
night. So you can imagine at 12 o'clock midnight, it's way dark.
Mm.
But he wasn't parked far back like I was under the tree that I was. He was parked further down towards the woods because I was taking up the space that he probably would have parked in was I not there. So if he had got out of his car, he would have been only 20 or 30 steps away from it. So
Wow.
he's seen it even up closer than I did.
Yeah.
So
Man.
I just there. So if y'all want to, I know we're about an hour now, and I don't know how long.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a couple more questions, B. Moss, before we wrap this up here. What do you think these things are hanging around that property? Do you think are they living really close by there? You think there is a cave system close by there, or what do you think the reason is for being there?
I know that was Limestone County, and I know that there's like a lot of rock quarries around here. There's a lot of caves around here. There's tons of woods around here because Limestone County is just not just Athens, Alabama. That's Elkmont, that's Tanner, that's East Limestone, West Limestone, all those areas, the Elk River, all that is Limestone County. So it's heavily wooded, and not only that, I think that what do you call it? The deer and stuff like that. I mean, there's plenty of food.
There's got to be great
supply for
hunting.
them.
Yeah.
There's plenty of water supply.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a bunch of rivers, there's a bunch of lakes, all that kind of stuff is around here. Ponds, streams, creeks. So, I mean, in the area where my parents' house is, like you go back in the woods, there's a pond back there. There's a big pond back there, and it's been back there since I was a kid. And not only that, I think also another thing about it is that in my parents' particular neighborhood they used to live in, not many people go back there in those woods, so nobody's coming back there bothering them at all.
Gotcha.
I did find a huge hole back there in the woods in the ground when I took the kids back there with me, and I also found an area, a tree area that it was kind of like, I don't know if you want to call it a hollow, but it's almost like they cleared out an area in order to go into it. It's almost like you're going into a den.
I think I saw that
Wings wide
picture.
open.
Did you post that on your page? I think I saw that picture you posted. Was that the one you're talking
Um,
about?
that was not at my parents' house. That was at the house I lived at with my ex-husband.
Okay.
That was in the woods. That was actually right directly. The Flint River was, if you watch that video on Mysterious Huntsman, that's the episode that I did the interview with Mysterious Huntsman.
Hmm.
And on that video, on that he you catch me walking over to that structure in real time. I didn't send you that one. I
Okay.
just sent that one. That video was called B Moss Finds a Bigfoot or Dogman Shelter.
Okay.
Something like that. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
But that one,
I want to see that.
no, that was hollow inside. That thing was taller than I was. I'm 5'2", and that thing stood taller than I did. It was hollow on the inside. It was large enough on the inside that probably about 5 or 6 adults could sit
Oh wow.
upright in it comfortably.
Wow.
And it was flat bedded. I
Hmm.
went back 3 or 4 weeks later. It was gone.
Hmm.
The Flint
Interesting.
River, it was directly behind that. Like there's people riding, like they're actually like rowing on a canoe through the river, like while I was doing that live stream.
Wow.
Hmm.
So,
Do
and
you
there's people after I shared that picture in the group, some people were saying that they actually seen things on that picture that I didn't even see.
huh. do you think do you think this dog man is dangerous to people?
Yes, but in some cases, no, because the ones that I've seen all these years, I have not had any issues with them. They never approached me. They've watched from a safe distance. Now, to say that they've never approached me, I do feel that they also have the ability to cloak and become completely invisible as well. So there goes the supernatural aspect of it because
Right.
I have caught them in real time on audio sniffing, snorting, and grunting, which sounds like it's, and I know it sounds crazy, but I've actually captured it on recording because I actually said if these things are paranormal, you got to be able to catch some EVP. I started recording with my phone and just would lay it on the box, and I've actually caught snorting, grunting, growling. I've caught all that, which sounds like it's right directly next to my head, like the biggest wolf or dog, like sniffing or snorting,
Hmm.
grunting right next to your head. And then not only that, if you imagine something taking some large, huge dumpster or large piece of metal and scraping it really loud and dragging it across concrete, and you're right there under the carport,
I
none of
hear
that
that
is
a
going on
lot.
behind you at all.
I hear that
Hmm.
a lot
Absolutely.
with Bigfoot encounters.
Oh,
I hear people
yeah.
hearing car door slamming or metal slamming against wood or metal or
Yes.
something like that. What is that? What is
I'm gonna
going
see if I
on?
can find that in my phone. Well, to me, what if that is what infrasound sounds like on audio? Nobody's ever talked about
Oh yeah.
capturing or
Hmm.
recording infrasound. What if that's infrasound on audio?
You're saying when they're
They
coming from
sound
a
like when they
paranormal world or
yeah, from a paranormal aspect, yeah.
okay.
Because they talk about Bigfoot and Dogman with infrasound, so if nobody's actually
Right.
recording infrasound in the moment, you don't know what
Who
it sounds
knows?
like, but there's no
Right.
rational explanation for it. I'm sitting under the carport, which like they had like a lattice carport, and it's like a concrete driveway that sits in an incline. There's nobody else outside. The road is way off in the distance, so it ain't got nothing to do with that. This sounded like I told y'all I'm sitting out there on that toy box. This sounded like somebody is literally dragging a large metal dumpster or like a huge metal trash can and dragging it really loudly across concrete. There's
Hmm.
nothing behind me.
Wow,
Capture that more than once.
that's crazy.
At the same time when all the grunting and stuff is going on. So
Kind of like
they
that
are able, and
analyzed.
I've
Have
actually
that
got some
analyzed.
pictures up. Yeah, I've actually got pictures of them also where they are y'all seen the movie The Predator, like where it
Hmm.
looks like a mirage almost.
The
There's pictures
cloaking,
where you can
yeah,
see that too. Cloaking.
Right.
So
Yep.
there's something else going on with them. If y'all want, we can come back and do another
yeah. We
interview
will for
again.
sure.
So
We will for sure.
because there's more stuff with that.
Do you
It's a
ever
lot
see
of
any
different
lights?
aspects.
Do you ever see any weird, strange lights around these during this encounters or anything like that, like globes or you know?
A couple of times when like after that first encounter that I had told myself, and once the multiple sightings and stuff when I captured them on audio and video and pictures, I said, after a certain time at night when it gets dark, I'm not gonna be out here. I don't care if whatever cigarette smoking I've got to do. If it ain't done by the time it gets dark, it just ain't gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's even been times like when I just couldn't hold it, and I was like, you know what? I've got to have a cigarette right now. I would take my alarm and press it and look both ways out the door and take off running full speed, run to the car, lock the door, and get in there and smoke. And it's stupid.
I
But
wouldn't.
during a couple,
It's
Braver
not
than me.
stupid.
I wouldn't even went out.
I wouldn't even be going outside. I'd be like, I'm just going to smoke inside right here. It's okay.
my parents wouldn't let me smoke.
Cigarette can wait. Cigarette can wait.
Open the window. They'll never know.
Like I'm looking like this both ways and like beep beep.
Right.
Okay, I don't see nothing. I took off running full speed like a marathon sprinter, got in the car, locked the door, and sat there and smoked, looking straight ahead the whole time. I even cut the car on and had headlights going because I'm like, they so black. I don't want one of them things to creep up on me.
Mm-hmm. Blend right in.
What I ended up as one of those times when I was sitting out there, though, no, probably about, I'm going to say twice. There's a couple of those times when, I'm not going to say orbs, but out of nowhere, like up in the sky, like way up above the trees, you would see like a light flash. And it's like, where is that coming from? I've seen that 2 or 3 times. And I never could make sense of it. So I just really didn't even know what to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's got to be.
A lot of people see that with Bigfoots too.
Yeah.
What do y'all think they are?
Brian, go ahead.
Maybe drones. Maybe some kind of.
Are you talking about the lights or what Dogman is? Lights?
Dogman.
Oh, she's saying Dogman.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the lights.
I do have a question about the lights too, though. After
That's all right.
this.
Dogmen? I don't know. I think they're pretty terrestrial. They could be interdimensional, maybe. I don't know. There's so much we don't know about these things right now. Like you said before,
let me ask you. Have y'all seen, I don't know if y'all have ever seen that show Paranormal Witness. On Paranormal Witness, they have an episode, I think it was in season 3, I don't know if it was episode 6 or 9. There was an episode on there called The Pack. Have you seen that, Todd?
I have not seen it, no.
I haven't seen that one, no.
When you get a chance, you've got to pull up Paranormal Witness, The Pack. And I know they embellished it and made it great for TV, but there were some aspects of truth to that. Now, they supposedly seen flashing lights. And this Paranormal Witness is, I don't know if that was on Animal Planet or on Destination America, one of those shows, but it was 6 Dogmen that came up to those people's property that night. But before the couple was out there sitting on the porch smoking and drinking coffee, and a flash of light happened off in the distance. And then shortly thereafter, they're looking off into the wood line, and that's when 6 Dogman ended up creeping up on them in the field. It's a whole documentary about that. It's very interesting.
So those could be portals.
Have you heard of? Did you see it, Brian?
I have not yet, but I'm going to watch it.
When you get a chance, Paranormal Witness, The Pack. I don't know if you need to look it up on Netflix or what. You got to see it.
B Moss.
I'll find it.
B Moss.
I'll tell you this much. Or something.
B Moss. I'll tell you this much. I'm more confused now than before we started this whole journey of our podcast. I thought I was going to have the answers and learn, and I cannot tell you. I don't know.
There's just so many things we don't know about Dogman.
I hear correlations with the lights, and there's something with the lights, and there's some terrestrial, there's some portal. I don't know. Or these things are just living in caves, and they have powers that were given to them from, like you said, the Nephilim. I don't know. The more I hear, the more confused I get. I can't put anything on it.
Well,
but I do know that these are real because people are seeing these things, and they're not making this stuff
more and more. Yeah.
Well, you have to think about it like this too. The ancients or the Native American tribes and the ancient people back to ancient Egyptian times and ancient Greek times, they worship these half human, half animals as gods.
Right.
Yeah.
Why is that? They had to have some type of supernatural abilities or powers about them to make them feel like, oh, wow, there's something to this. For one, the whole fact that these creatures, some of them, not all, because not all of them have those luminescent eyes. Some of them have regular eyes too, all black, but you got different eye colors. But why these creatures' eyes have the ability to have that luminescent quality to them, even in the daytime? glowing like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
not natural.
It's not human anyway, for sure.
It's not.
But
I mean, they climb up on people's roofs, and then what about the aspect where they come up to kids' windows or people's windows and tapping on the window at night?
I've heard of that.
What
yeah.
about the fact that a lot of people talk about? I felt like the dog man was grinning at me.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like trying to.
Yeah, we've heard that one. Mm-hmm.
That's not what a regular animal does.
There's a lot to it. I don't know what to think about it. I just know it scares the hell out of me. But if these things are real, I want to know.
Yeah, but then you got the aspect, most predators that go and kill livestock or any animal that they're hunting, they're going to eat them and, like, the body's going to be gone. But you got cases where people have had the whole dogman stuff happen, or dogman attacks of their pets or their livestock, and they just went out there and had a field day and just didn't even eat them.
They drank the blood. That's what happened.
But there's blood and guts and stuff everywhere. They said it's not even been touched.
I don't know.
They probably just play with them.
Did y'all see that video that Jody Cookie man or some kind of creature actually digging up a body in the cemetery?
I saw that. That creeps me out. I don't know what that is.
He went out there and investigated that case and talked to the people there, and they had been having problems with things like that coming out of the woods.
That creeps me out.
He shared the actual video with me, not the one like that. Of course, it was uploaded on YouTube too, but he shared the actual video with me that was shared with him by the people.
If you can find that, B. Moss, and post that for us,
I want to see that
that'd
too.
Be great. Yeah. That one's creepy for sure.
I will.
It shows it just digging. It's looking. It smells something underground, and it's digging up. And it's not like it's in the cemetery part. Maybe somebody buried their dog there, not deep enough or something like that. I don't know, but it's really weird and creepy.
Well, according to Jody, I can't remember what he said. He gave me the details on it, and I just don't remember what it was right now. But that was not the only time that those creatures have come up out of there.
B. Moss, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it, and it means a lot to us. And we thank you for sharing your stories. You have to come back on sometime in the future and share some more stuff with us.
Absolutely, yeah.
I will. Thank you so much, guys. And I'm going to share. Brian or Todd, did y'all share this live in your group? If not, I'm going to send it over there.
Go ahead. Yeah, if you
want go ahead and do it. If
not, we will.
If you're doing it.
All right, I'm going to do that. And then thank you guys for having me on as a guest on your show tonight. And I really appreciate this.
That was our pleasure.
Share your, actually, Abe, Tom, if y'all are not part of what your group is, what is the name of your group? Cryptid Creatures to Watch?
Cryptid Creatures, yeah.
Yep, Cryptid Creatures, yep.
And can y'all share the link to your group in my group after this live is over with? Because I want anybody who's over there, Kentucky Dogman Project. I'm going to send y'all all this stuff. Everybody share the links to your group in my group after this show is over with. And I want y'all to go over also and support Brian and Todd and their group. They're going to share the link to their group after this live is over with. And any of you who want to go over, they're looking for more people to share your Dogman encounters and your experiences with that, or any other experiences that you have with cryptids. And with that being said,
that would be great.
Yep. And we'll do the same for your group, and our people will come on and check out your group as well and post it on our page, and they can check it out and get involved as well once we post this episode too. So we appreciate it again. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. This has been fun.
Thank you. And thank you all, David, Sabrina, Abe, everybody, Tom, Marquetta. Thank all y'all for showing up tonight and supporting me. And thank you for supporting Todd and Brian tonight. We love y'all. And with that being said,
thank all of you.
Y'all have a good night.
You too. Thanks.